We have Christine Polewarczyk. She is the SVP of Product Marketing at PathFactory. Hi, Christine. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So excited to have you. So for those of you who may not be familiar with you, can you just start with a brief background about you and about PathFactory, then we can dive into some of the questions that we have today.
Sure. So as you said, I'm Senior Vice President of Product Marketing at PathFactory. I've been here, it'll be 2.5 years at the end of this year. And prior to that, I was an industry analyst, advising B2B CMOs and their marketing teams, as well as sales oftentimes, around everything related to content engine transformation at Forrester and SiriusDecisions before that. And then prior to joining SiriusDecisions, I was a marketing leader, a content strategist, and really touched every aspect of marketing and content over the years. I won't bore you guys all with my resume, but you can check it out on LinkedIn if you want to know more about my background. But right now I'm really focused on, and have been even when I was an analyst, the idea that content strategy and content operations are really the backbone of being able to have go-to-market success in a digital world, because content drives so many of the interactions that we're trying to have with our target audiences. So at PathFactory, we are a content intelligence and personalization platform specifically focused on B2B. And we help marketers generate more leads, of course, although we're not just focused on leads. We're really focused on buying groups, buying signals, and using AI and automation to drive all of that. So at the foundation, I think of content intelligence as using your audience intelligence, your engagement data, and analysis of your content itself, correlating that all together, and then that trains your AI, your automation, it fuels your personalization capabilities, and then you activate that through the experiences you can build in PathFactory using all of that data and all those personalization capabilities in AI, really for any go-to-market use case. Typically, we have people coming in focused on an initial use case, and then they realize as they use PathFactory longer that, oh, we can use this for almost anything from a go-to-market perspective. But often it's focused on campaigns, real-time website personalization, content marketing with the goal of increasing engagement, seeding demand. I think what makes us unique is the content data that we provide, because we can connect content engagement to influence on pipeline and revenue. And we also, because of our integration with 6sense and other intent providers, can do anon to account matching. And we also create anonymous visitor profiles. So as people engage with PathFactory experiences, we know exactly who they are at whatever degree we can in the moment. And we learn more and more every time they interact, and we save that profile. We pass it into the CRM for sellers. We surface it for marketers. And it really helps you make better content investment decisions, which I think is so important now. The market conditions have been so tough for marketers and sellers, and we really need to know what's working and what's not, and not invest in things with the limited budgets marketers have. So when I think about the amount of money, for example, that we spend on paid media, for example, as marketers, if you send someone from an ad to a single asset dead-end landing page experience, that is not as effective as sending them to a multi-asset experience driven by AI that will adjust and personalize that experience based on who the person is and what we know about them and like visitors.
I love that. And we've been touching a lot on AI, which is like the big topic right now. How to use AI safely? What are some ways that you can integrate it? Do you buy technology that has AI? Do you try to find stuff like ChatGPT or other generative AI platforms to integrate into workflows, processes, documentations? What are some like hacks, if you will, that your team has used while integrating AI with or without PathFactory as like a platform? Like, what are some hacks?
I don't know if I would say hacks, but I mean, well, that's not true. I know that our content marketing team, for example, does use ChatGPT to get some shortcuts for ideation and ideas, or just looking for background information that would help support writing an article, for example. That's more on the production side. When I think about marketing and AI in general, what I used to preach and evangelize and advise on at Sirius and Forrester was that you really need to think about the full content lifecycle. You've got your planning. You've got production, which is where most people start talking about AI, right? They're like, oh, ChatGPT, that's very, it's generative, right? So you're creating copy, text, video, code, whatever it may be. There's also the promotion or the activation of your content, which as marketers is crucially important, right? And that's really where we focus at PathFactory historically, has been activation, as well as the last of the P's, which is performance management. And that's all that content operation stuff, content audits, managing your library, metadata and taxonomy, which is crucial for AI and automation because it learns from that metadata. And it also fuels the personalization and reporting. So if you don't have a mastery of those things, you're not going to have a mastery of AI. If your data isn't clean, as they were saying on the main stage earlier, yesterday, then you're going to have some work to do, right? So we're all on this learning curve with AI in terms of where to use it best and where to start. I think the most important thing is that we have to be using it. We have to be developing our own comfort level and proficiency with it. At the same time, we have to really figure out how do we align that to what our current business goals and objectives are, and it's not shiny object. You know what I mean? So if you think about those 4 Ps, where are you kind of struggling the most, and where are you also going to demonstrate the most impact from the work that you're doing around AI? So like in production, I think there's a lot of hacking going on already where people are using ChatGPT for persona development or persona insights, asking ChatGPT, what do I need to know about this persona? Or what would you do if you were trying to engage with this persona as a B2B marketer, or whatever the case may be, right? You're going in and just throwing in prompts and trying to see what you can get out. On the promotion side, I really think that AI is critical in automation at this point because marketers have such complex jobs now, and it's just harder than ever to be a marketer. You know, it's just not easy. And we don't have the resources that we need to do the level of scale and complexity that exists. So if we all accept that B2B buying behaviors have fundamentally changed, that people buy in buying groups, and that they want to self-service as much of their journey as possible, then we really have to figure out how we're going to use AI to scale what we're doing to deliver those self-service journeys. And that's really what I'm focused on and what we talk about with our new AI agent Chat Factory is how do we resolve this? I'm a buyer. I want to go to your website and learn about your solution. Now I am clicking through the scavenger hunt from hell, excuse my language, and you are creating way too much friction for me as a buyer. I mean, I buy software as a senior marketer, right? And it's extremely frustrating. And you start getting the emails from sellers like daily almost, and being asked, do you want a demo? Do you want a demo? No, I don't. I'm one of those buyers who only wants to self-service for as long as humanly possible. And I will come when I already know who my shortlist is and have very specific questions for you that I need answered. So I think the priority for AI for me right now is how do you do ABM at scale, personalization at scale, use AI to do that, but really through the context of how do we do that with our content, because I think so much of the time we're focused on, we're just focused on that production element, but the content part that I'm most focused on is how do we activate it better to get it in front of the right audience at the right time, and then how do we make sure that that is giving us the data that we need to then further train the AI and get it to learn better, but also so that we as marketers are making smarter decisions and not guessing at what's working.
And speaking of AI and content, you guys just came out with a benchmark report too, talking about a 23% decrease in time spent on blogs and about AI-generated content fatigue.
Yeah.
That is a whole topic in and of itself that I feel like we can go down a rabbit hole. But can you expand more on those key findings or like tips and tricks for other demand gen marketers as we're approaching this era of AI fatigue and using a generative AI to create content, but also to use it in a smart way, to your point, those 4 Ps, so that we're not creating more content that is just AI
That's such a good point. I mean, on the production side, this is not an era of more is better, in my opinion. It's really about quality. What's interesting is it's almost like a back to basics where we need to really think about what content audit and inventory, what do we have? What do we need to fill gaps in the buyer journey for a specific persona? And then if we can land that for the buyer or champion, and sure, use AI to support that if you need a little, some efficiency and scale there.
Totally.
But then what does that also look like for the other members of the buying group, the typical roles that would be involved, and where are the content gaps there? That's where I would start versus we need more videos or we need more blog posts. In that report, we also saw that from 2021 to 2023, known visitors actually dropped by 29%. And that's a significant finding as well, because we're seeing in most accounts, and did this in our NVIDIA case study presentation yesterday, showed some of the results from our 2023 Content Intelligence Report, where there are more anonymous buyers engaging than ever. So in an enterprise account, if you're targeting the enterprise or companies with 1,000 or more employees, we saw that on average, 85% of the visitors engaging per account are anonymous. That's huge. Mm-hmm. That completely changes the way you think about how you need to do marketing. And
one would hope.
One would hope, and that's why we're here at Breakthrough, right? Is, the MQL-centric model is dying. And I know it won't die overnight because marketers live in realities where they have to answer to CEOs and boards and sellers, and they are not ready to completely wean off of those. But we as marketers really have to figure out how we're going to change the balance and shift the weight so that we are more signal focused and we are using AI to help us understand what those signals mean, summarize and surface the insights, and then give us easy ways to then create that content, activate it, and create that virtuous loop. However, with all that said, with AI and marketing, I don't see the marketer or the human being out of the loop anytime soon. We do need to make sure that we are governing and teaching AI what we want it to do, and that will take some course correction as we learn and go forward with the AI. But I do say, so when I was at Forrester, we did a main stage presentation in 2022 called The Future of B2B Content, Time Travel and Transformation, the Future of B2B Content. I was sort of looking 10 years out. And I had predicted at the time that within a decade, about 50% of the B2B marketing content engine would be, or CX content engine actually, would be AI driven, like autonomously AI driven. I'm still I'm on the fence whether we'll be there in 10 years or not, but we're absolutely heading in that direction. So as marketers, we need to be involved. We need to figure out how to train the AI, get it to do what we want, and prioritize what that looks like. But we also have to be preparing for a reality where we're going to be giving up some of that work to AI completely over time.
Yeah. One point that you touched on that I just want to make sure we reiterate for today's podcast is that content framework of mapping the buyer's journey. That's my favorite hack as a consultant is I actually have a template that I use to map the different personas as well as different industries that we're segmenting in that way and the different stages of the funnel. Top of funnel by decision maker, influencer, end user, whatever we need. And I start engagements with that so we can see what gaps are in the content. To your point, are we lacking top of funnel? Are we lacking bottom of funnel? And use that, to your point, to pipe into ChatGPT, create some topic, inspirations that we can do and then share that with the content person to start filling that. But it's absolutely crucial to have content that supports the entire buyer's journey. And then as demand gen marketers, we could take that to then say, how are we going to create a campaign that's going to touch on the entire buyer's journey with these different pieces of content, make it integrated, omni-channel. I nerd out over all those things.
I know.
But you brought that up, and I just want to reiterate here to the audience, that is so important as a baseline, as a fundamental.
That's what I was saying, back to basics.
Back to basics.
I am still talking to people all the time about content audit, inventory, and gap analysis against the buyer journey. And I mean, that's been a fundamental in content strategy for a long time. I'm not going to date myself. No, I'm joking, but no, it's just such a fundamental starting point. It's so interesting to me how when I say shiny object, people get caught off on, oh, I need this, I need that. I said, you don't even know what you have now. How do you know what you need if you don't know what you have and how it's working for you today? How do you know what you need if you haven't done that gap analysis against the buyer journey, against your personas, so that it's not necessarily a shiny object or the squeakiest wheel in your org telling you what content to create, or a sense of, well, that asset worked well, let's do another one of those. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't do those kinds of things, but to me, the baseline, like you said, is what do our buyers actually want and need to support a purchasing research process.
Well, and then people wonder why marketers are exhausted all the time. It's because we're constantly chasing the next shiny object and we're constantly in reactive mode. Whereas if we just stripped all that away, started from the basics, figured out what we had now, and use that first, we'd take a more proactive approach, slow down, build it one step at a time. That, for me, that's the key to success. We're running out of time here. I want to be respectful of the time that we have together. This has been a super valuable conversation.
Can I just add one
Thanks so much. Yeah. Okay. I have one more question for you before we end, but please, by all means.
You just gave me, I mean, this is what we're talking about with PathFactory, which is our new generative AI buying agent. We've combined it with our AI content rec engine, and to train an agent that a marketer can configure on back-end UI themselves, which I think is amazing, self-service building of AI agents right quickly, is that you take a collection, say someone did what you just said, right? And they build out the content for a buyer journey. We call that a collection of content in our library. That trains the agent, and you can have that collection of content train the conversation engine, and or use that or a different collection of content to train the content rec engine. As people have a conversation and just ask, what do I need to know about your solution? How do you support ABM? Whatever the thing is, it will come up and have a natural language conversation, and then also contextual content recs that are related to the conversation that's being had, and then let them auto-generate a digital page to come back to later or share with the buying group and save the content recs. What's exciting about that is what you said is if you can do that content strategy piece really well, you can literally just dump it into an agent and create a buying agent overnight. And then you remove all the friction. That buyer no longer has to go to your website, click through 5 levels of your website looking for information and content, or use your poor corporate website search engine results. And you just cut so much friction from their lives. And
modern marketing at its finest.
Exactly.
101. Here we are with Christine.
And I know that we're out of time, so I will stop there. But what's your last question?
I just wanted to ask if you had any tips for demand gen marketers as we enter 2025. We're in the planning stages. So what are some of the things that demand gen marketers should be thinking of, planning for as we approach 2025?
I mean, really the focus for me, and I'm actually doing a Forrester webinar on this on the 29th, October 29th, is ABM at scale. Mm-hmm. And really thinking about, even if you aren't doing ABM yet, you need to be, because buying groups are a reality. I'm still talking to a lot of marketers that are still pretty, early on in scaling ABM. So to me, that would be the focus, because that's the only way you're going to get out of this MQL-centric motion that most marketers are still in. And I would say if you are a more mature ABM marketer, that you need to be looking at AI to help support that, because you can't really do ABM personalization at scale without AI and automation. Marketers just don't have the resources to do it. So that would be my focus, is how do if I'm not doing it now, how do I pilot something like that? And if I am doing it now, how do I scale? Because I do think that a lot of what we traditionally defined as ABM is now outdated, and we're redefining what that looks like, and we're redefining it in the context of having AI and automation as part of that equation.
Yeah, good point.
So I would be building plans that include that. I can't really answer that really well in a soundbite, but I would love to talk. I wish we had more time, because
we can schedule a follow-up. We'll do a V2 of this.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, and then I'd love to come with some more specifics for you as well around exact things that people can do. I'm hesitant because I want to say what they can do in PathFactory, but I don't want to be like, here, of course, the answer is use PathFactory. No, it's but it is, yes. But I don't want to be self-serving. I really just want to say, if you're not mature in ABM yet, or you still feel some kind of discomfort with that idea of moving from MQLs to buying groups and signals, just even if you're at the education phase, that should be the priorities. How do I start moving my maturity along that trajectory? And there's a lot of ways that can happen, but it really depends where your starting point is, your maturity, your resources, your marketing budget, etc., your tech. So for me, it's a lot like you consult. For me, just talking to the person, understanding the realities that they're working with, and then helping them build a plan that's actually going to be actionable for them in their world, right? Because even as an analyst, I would remember all the time people would say, that's a great framework, but we're nowhere near ideal state. Where do I begin? So you really have to figure out where you are maturity-wise first, and then start from there and figure out what your specific crawl, walk, run is going to look like.
I love that. Christine, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Demand Gen Made Simple show. If you found value in today's episode, please consider leaving a review, as it really helps me reach more people just like you. And make sure to subscribe so you can be notified when the next episode drops. Thank you, and see you next time.